sponsored by the Dagama Group.
Welcome to Rumbo Minero. My name is Jorge Leon Benavides. Together with Cesar Campos, we are going to develop this program. Cesar, how are you?
What a pleasure, Jorge, as always. Well, we have Carlos Gálvez, former president and now director of the National Society of Mining, Oil and Energy as our guest. We are going to talk about issues, of course, of what...
The situation, what happened, and also a little bit of 2024 in mining, what is happening. Also all these reinfo issues, all these issues of complications in a sector that we love so much, but at the same time, what is happening? It has as many complications as illegal mining. Who wants to formalize, who does not reinfo? We are going to talk a little bit about all this with Carlos Gálvez.
Of course, and we hope that our second guest, former Vice Minister of Mines, who has also presided over versions of Perumin and who is a private consultant engineer, Rómulo Mucho, can also talk to us about investments in exploration for the sustainability of mining.
That's right. So let's now listen to Gabriela Chicoma with the main mining news of the week.
Thank you, Jorge. These are the main mining news of the week. Espinar, located in the Cusco region, is the third province with the largest allocated budget in the region, with 431 million sols. Despite this, as of November 2023, it has executed only 56.7% of its budget, making it the province with the second lowest use of funds behind only La Convención. Dynacor Group Inc., an international industrial gold ore corporation serving ASM, artisanal and small-scale miners, recorded unaudited gold sales of US $24.4 million for November 2023, an increase of US $9.4 million from the amount achieved in November 2022. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Oscar Vera Gargurevich, during a working meeting with the regional governor of Pasco, Juan Luis Chombo, announced that more than 15,000 inhabitants in 131 rural localities in the region will benefit from the execution of electrification projects with an investment of 35 million sols.
Many thanks to Gabriela Chicoma for the main mining news of the week. Well, we now meet with Carlos Gálvez, Director of the National Society of Mining, Oil and Energy, to talk a little about the future. What is coming in the year 2024? There is optimism on the one hand, on the other hand, a little more realism. Let's talk to Carlos. Carlos, welcome back to Rumbo Minero.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Jorge Cesar. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Tell us a little bit about it, you who are an experienced person in the mining sector. There is a certain not as much optimism as Minister Alex Contreras, who tells us that we are going to come out of the recession very quickly. What is it that we know that mining is extremely important and vital for the Peruvian economy, and it could help us to get out of the recession? Do we have arguments talking about 2024 in mining to help this problem of the recession?
Actually, I think that would be very much in the hands of the attitude taken by the government. If we review the figures we have to date, the mining sector has grown in the 3 accumulated quarters of the last 3 years, 9.4%. But at the same time, construction has fallen 9.3%. What is that telling you? First, that here you have a statistical effect by the incorporation of Quellaveco into production, its first full year of production, which we did not have it so in the first part of the year, 2022. But it is also indicating to you that upon completion of Quellaveco's construction stood construction of large mining projects. Let us not forget that when we talk about mining and the launching of mining projects, we are actually talking about construction and the activation of the entire production chain. That brings not only the construction in the project itself, but the construction of infrastructure. But here everything is at a standstill. And to top it all off, we have that with the change of local and regional governments, Investment in public infrastructure is also lagging behind, Then all the planets have aligned improperly, and therefore the results are fatal.
Well, in fact, what the Minister of Economy and Finance, Alex Contreras, pointed out was that without the participation of mining, we would be talking about a great recession. That is, he pondered in a way, Carlos, the fact that if it were not for this very important lever of our economy, we would obviously be talking about a situation on a downward slope and probably heading towards the abyss. But now, without the participation of mining, we would be talking about a great recession.
The mining sector weighs 10% of the package of GDP. If this sector has grown 9 and a bit percent, in reality there is 0.9% of GDP, this one, provided by her.
Of course, now investments are not only about clear rules or an active participation of the state in promoting them, but also what has been a great concern throughout this year, 2023, Carlos, a great concern, the rule of illegality, the insecurity that surrounds many mining units. How should this be faced in the year 2024?
It is a fight to informality in general terms. But again, we are going to refer to the mining sector because that's what we get. I believe that it is time to cut these formalization plans. We have been doing it for more than 20 years now. In fact, began in the year 2002.
In the government of Alejandro Toledo.
That's right. And the effort for formalization. And after several twists and turns, they came out in the year 2016 with the rainfall. Rainfall, which is actually mismanaged because it is managed by regional governments, where there is, we know, great corruption. And then that practically gives them a license to do anything, any criminal activity, including the handling of explosives, because the police is already, before a rainfall, totally neutralized to be able to act.
It is due, in your opinion. There have already been extensions and extensions. There is talk that in Congress, there are congressmen who with interests are extending the rainfall. In your opinion, the rainfall should be stopped and see things, or how?
It is not only that, we have to be aware that Peru Libre and their congressmen have been financed by illegal miners. That is a known fact. And of course, they are the ones who are dedicated to try to prolong and postpone.
But there has been a group that has been legalized, minor, but legalized. We have to...
But minor, we're talking about, look, out of 80,000 rainfall that have been issued, there are 72,000 that are, at least this one, abandoned.
What would be for you the next steps? This is not working. Expanding it would be, I think it would not work because, as you have already said, it is being misused. But what would be those next steps to attract the formalization issue to those who want it and to know once and for all those who don't really want it, right?
The first thing is that we have to be really formal, not on paper. Then whoever is going to have title from small miner or artisanal miner, what you should count on is your title, of the concession, the one he is in charge of, duly granted. If you don't have that, then you have nothing to do unless you have a contract with the dealer. Of one company.
That's number one.
That's number one. Number two, you have to eliminate all avenues of illegal activity of reducers, because no one is doing the traceability of the minerals coming out of different mines. And we know, not from now, but for decades, that there is a mafia in place, that buying minerals on the highways, and now they are more experienced. And they go armed to the gold mines, and there they are assaulted and robbed of the minerals. Even already, Palaket, right? Then that has to be properly controlled. there is traceability. Minerals have a DNA. You know exactly which mine they came from by the structure of the metals it contains. So that has to be controlled.
I invite you, Carlos, to analyze an event that has had a great international impact, such as the decision of the Supreme Court of Panama to annul a contract between the Panamanian state itself and the Canadian company First Quantum Minerals for the exploitation of copper at a time when there is so much talk about the need for this metallic resource for the effects of climate change in the transition. And this could also have an international impact because evidently a situation of this nature could empower certain claims or demands so that in the interest of sovereignty, between quotation marks, they try to stop this important investment. What is your impression on this issue?
Look, first of all, let's take note of the numerical impact. First Quantum in that mine stops producing 350,000 tons of copper per year. That is more than what Las Bambas has in production today. While it is true that Las Bambas has the capacity to produce 400,000, it is not producing this amount. And it is also producing about 140,000 ounces of gold. The impact is not only short-term. The impact is what will happen with other future mining projects and operations. Because our generating a current of post-extractivist thinking, which has been going on for some years now, but blaming the mining sector for pollution that it does not generate. Basically, the whole world is concerned about greenhouse gases, and the mining sector is the least concerned about them. And what the mining sector does, least of all, is generate greenhouse gases. It does not produce them. In terms of water operations, large open pit operations, recirculate between 95 and 98% of the water that they use. What are we talking about?
Carlos, we only have 30 seconds left. What would be your message to the government at this time, looking forward to 2024, with respect to what points are important to deal with immediately? There lies supposedly the one-stop shop for exploration. What would be your urgent message for the points to be addressed immediately so that 2024 can be a good mining year?
It is urgent to commit to moving Tia Maria forward. Urgent is to eliminate the unwanted obstacles for explorations. There does not have to be prior consultation for explorations. And third, I hope that with the single window, but if not by this means, by any other, the processes will be simplified because it cannot take years to carry out a mining project.
Carlos, thank you very much. As always, very clear in your thoughts and comments on these issues that concern us in the mining sector and the future of mining, not only in Peru, but throughout the Americas. Thank you very much.
Good year 2024 to you, Carlos.
Thank you and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Okay, next we are going to listen to Gabriela Chicoma with a message about Expomina. Go ahead, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. Expomina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of the 2024 years of trajectory, with the special participation of the United States as the guest mining country. Expomina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the United States Department of Commerce. Do not be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your booth at Expomina Peru. For more information, visit our website www.expominaperu.com.
Welcome to the America Mining Block. We are now linking directly to José Gonzáles, international editor of our magazine Rumbo Minero, and of course, analyst CNN and Wall Street. José, how are you? Welcome as always to Rumbo Minero.
All good, Jorge. Glad to meet you. Always a pleasure to be in the program.
Jose, this year we are going to analyze a little bit the 2023. This year is coming to an end. It has been a complex year for metallic mining. On the one hand, the perspective of the need to decarbonize the Generation of energy that favors metals for industrial use has been strengthened via electromobility and the energy transition, which improved future share prices that have remained, however, moderate due to the dynamics of global growth. In this context, how do you evaluate, let's say, the industry this 2023, which has been and continues to be a busy year?
That's right, Jorge. According to JP Morgan, 2023 has been a year of exceptionalism in the United States, with a large and synchronized monetary tightening, interest rate increases mitigated by a resilient private sector. Stock markets have maintained their returns. Fiscal shocks and depreciations, in commodities that have been positive. Key is what JP Morgan points out regarding the difficulties faced by the metal mining markets in 2023, to which, however, they have reacted with the same resilience as the private sector referred to by the investment bank. To take as an example the quotations of the most representative among the industrial precious metals, it is enough to see, for example, the quotations of gold, and after numerous volatilities and a fierce competition with the increasing interest rates. It is closing the year with a gain of 9%. It seems modest. It closes, however, this year, Jorge, with historically high levels of recovery, surpassing the 2012 and the commodity supercycle. Copper closes the year flat, i.e. flat. It basically ends the year as it began, below $4 per pound, after having surpassed that level in the first quarter, and after record levels were expected but did not consolidate. The level of the metal, however, remains historically high and has been punished by a measured global growth, particularly in China and the United States. But it promises to recover to the extent that the upward trend in demand, which implies the process of decarbonization, remains at the end of this decade. The demand for copper should increase by 50%, and in the next 115 years by 100%. Lithium, which is the most representative metal for electromobility, did experience a significant correction of 80% in its prices. This was basically due to the fact that China eliminated or matured the subsidies for electric vehicles, and the demand in the West, i.e. in Europe and the United States, has not yet been realized. The process should be reversed, however, when investment in infrastructure, particularly in chargers, begins to be made. According to the International Monetary Fund, that infrastructure creation will cause lithium demand to increase sixfold, 600% by the end of this decade. In general, it has been a year of negative situations that do not negate the positive structural conditions for global mining in the years to come.
On the other hand, Jose, at the end of the year 2023, let us analyze, and I would like you to do it in depth, the behavior of oil prices, because it was announced that given the production cut determined by OPEC and also the global tensions, the Russia-Ukraine war, the Hamas issue against Israel, to which was added within our region, Venezuela's tensions with Guyana, were going to determine a breaking of records in this price. What has happened, and why has such a forecast by analysts not occurred?
That is correct, Cesar. Oil is another commodity that has experienced unusual volatility and limited returns. In turn, unusual in the context of a year that has passed, as you rightly point out, between two wars that directly affect supply in Eurasia, Russia, and the Middle East, due to the proximity to Iran and the Middle, to Saudi Arabia and the oil producers in the Middle East. However, Brent, that is, North Sea crude, which is the global oil price marker, closes 10% below the opening of the year, when it was expected to experience a 50% gain. What happened? The price of crude oil was affected by a timid growth in the West and the Chinese slowdown, which is important. And the consensus of analysts tends to point out, however, that it is a typical case of supply-demand. The first is abundant. We produce more oil in the world than in the past, both conventional and non-conventional, which is shale oil, what is called fracking. And the second has been measured by the dynamics that we are pointing out, and that a cut in production of 2.2 million barrels per day that OPEC could not compensate. Such dynamics, however, may not be sustainable as we consume more energy than ever before, and as the energy transition will take longer than expected to consolidate. This is another parameter that we see has affected the prices of critical minerals, highlighting the need for fossil fuels. Thus, in order to consume less oil, we are going to consume more oil, making 2024 a year of expectations and fears in the context of ongoing geopolitical conflicts.
Very well, Jose Gonzales. Thank you very much for always being with us. And I guess that all these issues, as always, will also be dealt with in the magazine Rumbo Minero. Thank you very much, Jose, and
Correct.
have a nice day.
And the same to you.
Well, to announce to all our viewers, if you enter www.rumbominero.com, you will have, free of charge, you will be able to download the entire magazine Rumbo Minero with all the topics that we prepare. Not only Jose Gonzales, but a whole team of first-level journalists on mining topics of America and the world and Peru. This, every 45 days, you can download the magazine completely free on the web, www.rumbominero.com. Cesar?
Of course, Jorge, in this last edition of Rumbo Minero of the year 2023, we are pleased to present, as always, the block of the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers.
The International Congress of Prospectors and Explorers, PRO-EXPLO, is the second most important mining event in the country and the most relevant in terms of exploration and geology in Latin America. The importance of exploration lies in the fundamental role it plays in the discovery and establishment of new mining projects. For this reason, PRO-EXPLO is a mandatory meeting for companies and professionals working in the sector. In its most recent edition, more than 3,000 people participated physically and virtually, and its 14th edition is expected to be held in 2025, according to its president, Walter Tejada. We look forward to seeing you at PRO-EXPLO 2025.
At the international level, the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers has continued its role of disseminating the country's mining potential in various international forums, such as the Society for Mining Metallurgy and Exploration, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, and the World Mining Congress. In addition, since 2019, we were incorporated as members of the International Council on Mining and Metals and hosted the 100th meeting of the International Organizing Committee of the World Mining Congress. We are currently preparing to host the 27th edition of the World Mining Congress, which will be held in our country in 2026.
Perumin is the leading mining convention in Latin America and the world, which brings together the most prominent leaders of the global mining sector, government representatives, investors, researchers, and many professionals linked to this industry. For 70 years, our institute has been organizing this great event, where the challenges and opportunities of mining are analyzed. In its last edition, Perumin 36, brought together more than 65,000 visitors from 56 countries and 23 regions of Peru, making Arequipa the world mining capital. The next edition of the Mining Convention will be chaired by Jimena Sologuren. We look forward to seeing you at Perumin 37.
Well, we are now joined by former Vice Minister of Mines and Mining Consultant Engineer Rómulo Mucho. Rómulo, welcome back to Rumbo Minero.
Thank you again.
Rómulo, the Ministry of Energy and Mines, by means of Supreme Decree 028/2023 EM, issued measures to simplify the procedures for environmental certification and water use permits required for mining exploration mining. Could you explain to us how this benefits mining exploration and how much it could reduce times? That really then, you who are you are in the whole mining sector, but in exploration, can you really explain to us what this is all about and also if this famous one-stop shop is really going to work?
Mira, there is a clamor from the business community to that there were many obstacles, let's say, in advancing in exploration. I realized that exploration is practically the replenishment and finding new resources, isn't it, in our territory? And in recent times, they have been trying to, let's say, increase more standards, more and more fences, we would say, right, when exploration is really a study, is a, let's say, is a need to be able to know if we have more resources or not in the national territory. Therefore, I believe that it deserves, well, attention, let's say, in that sense. I believe that this decree corresponds, let's say, to the need, but now we also need to see how it is applied. Perhaps who sees environmental certification is SENAS, and the water thing comes from ANA, right? So we have been talking about it. Even a supreme decree has been issued to create a single window, right? So sometimes laws do not solve the problem so much. It is the intersectoral coordination among all, isn't it?
And this lack of coordination has been reflected in the indicators. For example, in the year 2022, we had $429 million of investment in exploration, while now only between January and September, $303 million were invested in exploration. How should we see the future in the year 2024? Because we are already closing this year 2023, and besides, if you think that we should bet more on the brownfield or greenfield projects, which of the two do you think should have a priority?
Look, along the lines of from the previous comment, existed, let us say the will of the executive was also contradictorily presenting a land use planning project, let us say, to Congress. That is a contradiction in terms, I say, who makes the decisions? There must be people who know the ministry, and it has to be in accordance with common sense, who say, we are going to help exploration, and on the other hand, you are presenting a territorial planning bill where it is nothing more than, let's say, it is almost a provision to not allow exploration. Because if you look at it from the land use planning, to say here yes, mining, here no mining, which is one more, let's say one. What would you say?
Overweighting regional and local governments, right? The bill, to tell the truth, determined us that vision that is always announced in the executive, that they are matching their perspective with the private sector.
Of course, but the brownfields are advancing because all the companies today have seen the need to replenish reserves, to increase and lengthen the life of the mine, right? Yes, of course.
In recent weeks, Romulo, there have been cases of social opposition to mining exploration, endorsed in some cases by local authorities, despite the fact that there is already authorization from the regional governments, in the case, for example, of Loreto, which announced that it will reject requests for authorization for mining exploration in the Nanay River Basin. This is despite the fact that Ingemet has granted a 10-hectare concession to develop gold mining activities in the area. What is your opinion on how this situation should be handled? Authorities outside the law, isn't it? Unbelievable.
The first condition that I say is that if Ingemet has seen fit that this area has mining, in my opinion, I believe that there should be no mining in the jungle, right? In the experience of Madre de Dios and other rivers they are working on, there is a degradation.
Of illegal mining in Madre de Dios.
Of course, no. Hey, let's be honest, shall we? There is a lack of work, the economy is stagnant, but of course, everybody is looking, but it has to be done with due responsibility, with the existing technology. Because in the rivers, it is not mining like in the mountain ranges. It is placer mining. It has its process, its procedure to be able to replenish where the ore is taken from and leave it as they found it, right? That's the big detail.
Mining. Modern mining is the one that postulates. Of course, we always talk here of modern mining and of course of illegal and artisanal mining as well, which have all the right to be formalized as it should be, but they must do it. The issue here, Romulo, is mining is supposed to take place in these places. If they give permission to Ingemet, it is supposed to be a mining that is going to respect everything. If an authority opposes, that is not right, because what the authority has to do is to watch, to supervise, and see that there is no contamination, The issue is, the question is, what happens when, as in these cases, the authority opposes a decision of the regional government and Ingemet?
In this case, the authority is in line with those who oppose the activity, right? It is as simple as that. In other words, in Peru, we are always tired of seeing that there is a current that opposes, let's say, to the activity, and the authorities join this, and it is happening in several places in Peru.
In several places, because as a result of the events of the Unidad Minera Poderosa in Patas, in La Libertad, it seems that the issue has been focused territorially, when in fact, as you point out, it is very...
Very quickly, I tell you, in Tingo Maria, I have a friend who is an authority. Romulo, I ask you, can there be mining? Because they are already mining here. He tells me, right? Oye, me le digo, if you ask me, there should be no mining in the jungle, I told him.
Well, it is a perspective, but as Jorge says, it does not only depend on the opinion of the authority.
He has had to see the matter. He has had to see if there are possibilities, if there are resources, and what the environmental standards are, so that they can get it right.
Thinking about the year 2024, I wanted to ask this question, Romulo. How are we going to face this issue of the penetration of illegality almost as an organized crime, so as not to harm those who can really be in a formalization process?
Well, illegal mining must be fought, right? It has to be eradicated. It is important, informal mining that have rainfall, as I said in several interviews, they are in the process of formalization. But that also, as the authority has mentioned in that sense, that the rainfall has to be purged, that it has become a tool for, let's say, for the proliferation of the activity. And obviously in Peru, the laws, the authorities are not working, aren't they? In other words, those who have to, let's say, supervise in this sense, right?
Your final message, please, very briefly, for the government, so that this 24th can be a year where mining can develop in a good way. What would you say to President Dina Boluarte, to Minister Vera, that has to be done urgently?
There are many attempts, such as the United Plan talks about mining, but they are totally with outdated projects. Hey, I say we have to do the opposite of what Plan Unido says, right? We have to provide maximum facilities to the projects that have to move forward, to the projects, because otherwise we are going to remain stagnant in production. Congo is coming back very strongly. Besides, with the fall of Cobre Panama and other projects, there will be a lack of copper. It is obvious, for reasons of that, there is going to be a shortage.
Immediate government decisions? In addition, Anglo-American has also just cut its production because Los Bronces is in trouble, like many old mines that age and lower grades and production is falling. However, the copper opportunity for Peru presents itself with a lot of energy, a lot of the national economy, right? Very well, Romulo, thank you very much for being on Rumbo Minero. We look forward to seeing you some other time to continue talking a little bit about what we are so passionate about, mining. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's go to Gabriela Chicoma and a message from Expomina. Go ahead, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. Expomina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of the 2024 years of trajectory, with the special participation of the United States as the guest mining country. Expomina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the United States Department of Commerce. Do not be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your booth at Expomina Peru. For more information, visit our website www.expominaperu.com.
Well, coming to the end of the program, Cesar, what Carlos Gálvez tells us, it's a background issue, really, isn't it? It is an issue of substance, of how this issue has been trying to be formalized for 20 years. It is a failure of all governments, because sometimes we talk, the government has not done, of all governments, a complete failure. Before law, it's not only permitting, isn't it? But we also have this issue of not being able to differentiate, which is, isn't it? Because, There is talk that Uresti planted many bombs and did it the hard way, but we cannot differentiate between those who want to formalize and how we help them to formalize and those who don't feel like it and really want to commit a crime. So it is frustrating to have been hearing the same thing for so many years, isn't it?
Indeed. Actually, specifying what Carlos mentioned to us is that since the year 2002, that is 21 years ago, this effort for formalization began in the government of Alejandro Toledo, which has had several setbacks, right? Because in the year 2016 is when rainfall was created and where some distortions are already becoming evident. So as you rightly point out, Jorge, I believe that it is also the state's task to organize itself, to formalize, let's say,
Or lay the first stone.
or to lay the first stone in making a review, to make an inventory, in addition to how rainfall is being used, but always without losing perspective of what you point out, not to affect the real mining that is on the way to formalization, illegal ones aside, those political activists aside, but definitely to support mining.
And that is an issue of the countries, of the developed countries. If we want to be a developing country and become a developed country, Cesar, you know, as a political journalist, the foundations must be laid for the next government, be it of the ideology or whatever form it may take. It may follow that path. We are used to, in Peru, when a new government comes in, a clean slate for mining, for everything that can be done, and they start a new idea that will not last 5 years, it will be much more...
New brooms that never work properly.
That's right.
This is true.
We also had Romulus a lot, didn't we?
Well, we mentioned Rómulo Mucho, who had complemented in a fortunate way what was also said by Carlos Gálvez regarding the whole issue of the one-stop shop and the investments for exploration that are so necessary.
That's right, Cesar. Well, wishing you all a happy new year, Cesar. A happy 2024.
Same to you, the family, and the whole mining family.
That's right. And to all the mining family, a happy 2024 to all of you. We hope that this 2024 will be a great year. And we are, of course, committed a year in addition to our Expomina event, which we are sure is going to help make the year 2024 a great year for everybody. Don't forget that we are on YouTube, also in English. You can look for us in English, for those of you who prefer, and we thank you for being with us through this signal.
Peru Construy is also coming.
That's right, Peru Construy is coming in a few minutes, so don't forget it. Thank you very much.